All right. Hi, blessings. So welcome to my channel, Pizzo's Perfection. Today we have a special guest with us. We're going to be talking about Social Media 101. Social Media 101. We're going to try to unpack for you some ideas and thoughts about why get involved with social media. Is social media important to your brand? As an author or a writer, do you need to even have a social media presence? So today we have Maya Barber.
Yep.
And she is my fabulous cover designer that I've told you guys about several times. But she also has just finished her bachelor's and is almost finished with her master's degree in communications.
Yep.
So tell us what your degree is in and then what your actual discipline is.
Okay. So my degree is in advertising management, and I have a minor in art and cultural management. And I also get a lot of questions as far as the art and cultural management and what that actually means. And that's basically just a specialty minor that helps me learn how to manage different arts. So I have a lot of training in that as far as my master's for advertising and research.
All right, that's great. So she has a wealth of information about social media. She does a lot of her current roles really help push out social media for different organizations. And so I thought she would be wonderful to have her here to give us her expertise and current information about how we use social media to give us an audience, to build us a platform, and to help frame and shape our arts that we're pushing out, whether we are a writer or an illustrator or an author, self-published or traditionally published. Why is social media important? So can you give us just a quick overview to define social media, what that means to have a platform on social media, and what social media platforms are there out there?
Sure. It's just communicating with your platform and your audience, right? So it's building that relationship really is what you're looking for and what you're looking to do. But just starting off, all you really want to focus on is really communicating who you are, what you're offering, and what you're trying to do. It's super important because there are so many different ways that you can do this, and there's so many people who think that, it's so intimidating and that it's going to be a hard time and it's going to be a struggle to get stuff going. But really, I promise you, it's much more easier than what you think. And I feel like the first step, when you mentioned what is all out there, the first step is just picking what you gravitate towards.
And I'm so glad you mentioned the intimidation, because we talk a lot on my channel about being over 40 and refined. And that means that a lot of us may not have grown up with social media at our fingertips, using it regularly. For a lot of us in our community, we might have Facebook as something we're very familiar with. But Facebook is used in so many different ways, and not so much oftentimes to build someone's platform,
right.
But really Facebook was used for a long time just to connect with people you knew or people you had lost touch with for a while. And now Facebook is about pushing out products and building your platform more, but it can be still so intimidating because we started off with Facebook and now we have Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and so many other platforms. Right. And every day I'm sure there's some social media platform being developed.
Absolutely.
And so how do we, being maybe not of the generation where social media is so prevalent in our understanding and our development, how do we get beyond that and just start getting ourselves out there?
One thing I would say is just start with what you know. First, I always recommend pick one platform and build for that one specific platform. And once you get, your audience that follows you and you're consistent with that audience and you see actual growth there, then you can start moving out.
That's great to know, because sometimes you think, well, I got to be on Twitter, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on here, and it can be overwhelming, and that overwhelming feeling can cause you not to do anything.
Right.
You just become stagnant and you don't move at all and you don't make any progress. But what you're saying is pick one social media platform that you are familiar with, that you feel comfortable with, and work within that one social media platform, and then move from that platform once you've built a following and you have people that you're connecting with. And we're going to talk about how you build that following. Once you have people that you're connected with, then move to another one and expand a little more. So I will just say, for me, for a very long time, all I did was Twitter. I knew very early on, I never liked Facebook. I started off by just putting a couple of pictures out there of my kids so people would keep up with me, but then they would have these comments and you get wrapped up in sort of these Facebook lives, and I never liked any of that. I would just want to check and see, oh, is such and such doing okay, or such and stuff. But you would get sucked into these, for me, into these vortex of
like kind of like a rabbit hole.
Yes, like a rabbit hole. And I never liked that. I didn't like the time suck that it did for me. I didn't like that. I felt like, wait a minute, I know what's going on in this person's life, but what's on this platform shows something totally different. I didn't like any of that stuff. So I felt stuck for a long time about social media until I found Twitter. And the first time I tried Twitter, I didn't understand it because you had 32 characters and you had to write in this sort of different type of language because you're trying to get all this information into 32 characters. And I was not able to connect with people the way I wanted to on there. And so I first joined and then I wouldn't use it because I didn't understand it. And I didn't like trolling, and I didn't like people who would go on Twitter just to have like these Twitter fights. And I was just like, this is not for me. So I was really stuck. But at the time I had heard authors really should start trying to build a platform.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't have a book out there yet, you want to start building a platform. And I went to a couple of conferences and people talked about Twitter is the place that agents and editors and publishers, that's their social media platform. That's where they go. That's what they're on. And so when I found that out, I said, okay, let me try again. And I started following a couple of agents on Twitter, and that opened up a world. A couple of authors, that opened up that whole world for me. And I'm now have a pretty huge following on Twitter. And because I've been on Twitter for maybe 4 years consecutively and have developed this following and this community, that gave me a lot of courage to start my YouTube platform, because I felt like, oh, okay, I have people who are engaging with me on Twitter. I can provide more content if I use YouTube. And everybody knows I've loved YouTube forever. And I would tell everyone to start a YouTube channel until one day I just said, well, why shouldn't I start a YouTube channel? So that's kind of how I segue over. But I totally get that people can be intimidated because of the so many. So it's so great to hear, start with the one you can develop a following with, that you get used to. I would recommend keep trying, because the first time I got on Twitter, I could not figure it out. I didn't like it, and I could have just said, okay, I'm done and I'm not going to try. But then it was when I heard it again, no, this is really where authors, agents, editors are. I said, okay, I'm going to keep trying. And the second time was a charm. And I love Twitter. I love Twitter. Every Woman 98. If you don't follow me on Twitter. There's all kind of shenanigans over there.
First of all, I love your Twitter. Every day he's posting something that's like hilarious. But I just want to put two things in there because, like you said, people do get intimidated. And I just kind of want to put in perspective for people. To manage an organization's social media accounts is somebody's actual full-time job. So whenever you see something from CNN or something from Wendy's, I love their social media account. They're very sassy. There's a whole team behind that. So
That's good to know.
It's hard to say, okay, I'm gonna have a Instagram, I'm gonna have a Facebook, I'm gonna have a Twitter and a Snapchat and a YouTube, and I need to be consistent on all 5 of these platforms, when that is truly 2 people's jobs.
That's great perspective.
So
great perspective.
Yeah.
And if you are like me, And we talk about this often. When you're over 40 and refined, most of us are career people.
Yes.
We have day jobs, we have children, we're, have life partners, wives, husbands. And so when you are adding one more thing to your life, it can be daunting. It can be a lot of stress. And so just to be able to recognize that what you see out there is not necessary. It's very contrived.
Yes. It's very done down to a science.
Yes.
And there's multiple people behind it.
Yes. So to keep that in mind, and you don't have to produce at that level.
Right.
Let's talk about the time suck a little bit. It is going to take some time, right?
It does. And so what I recommend for that is there are certain things that you can do to kind of like minimalize that time suck. For you, once you said, you started to follow people who were of your same discipline, you kind of saw what that world was like, what people were gravitating towards, what they weren't. And I'm not saying copy people's tactics and or work, but to get inspiration from, the people who are way up here, who have hundreds of thousands of followers on their account. And then to get people who are a bit more tangible on your level, will show you kind of what they're doing and what you should be striving for. And so that kind of eliminates the trial and error of
to have a model,
right, of what to go through, and then also to keep a calendar. So with every single person,
calendar,
yes. So with every single person and or org that I have done social media for, or just done different creative things, we've come up with a calendar. And whether that's I'm going to post about my writing activities on Wednesday, and then on Friday I'm going to report back to say, okay, here's how much I got through, I revised, I redid this, where are you at on your journey, to get that conversation going. And then from there, that also helps with your trial and error because you're actually keeping track with things. So just taking 10 to 15 minutes a day to look at your calendar and say, okay, I did this today, this is what works, let me scroll over here and see what they're doing. And that kind of minimalizes that.
Yes.
Which helps, and it makes it also less frustrating too.
Yes, that's really good. Keeping a calendar. You guys know my handy dandy notebook. I'm always keeping track of, trying to map out, okay, this is what information I want to cover. I just did a blog update posting. Please check that out of what's coming up. I'm actually releasing new series such as this one, Social Media 101 and Brand Persona. And so just to be able to have that helps you stay on track with what you're building and not get caught up in the craze of how to build subscribers, how to get 100,000 views and all that, because all of that is out there in the space. But what I have to try to keep myself remembering is I am not trying to be a YouTuber. I am trying to be an author that has a platform using these social media outlets. And so if all I'm focused on is the YouTube or the social media piece or the Twitter piece, and I'm not writing, I'm not producing books, I'm not, getting my cover design review, going through my editorial letters and revising, then I'm losing what my platform is.
And what your brand is really about, because you don't have anything to talk about at that point.
Yes.
So if we're just focusing on this, you kind of lose what people were initially here for to begin with.
Exactly.